welcome back to the channel. Are you thinking about getting a Starlink for streaming in 2024? Well, I've done just that for the last 6 months. I want to give you my honest feedback. How does it actually perform? Is it as good as they say it is? And how much of a pain is it to actually fit this thing? Because it is a beast. Also, it's pretty flipping cool technology, so it's worth talking about how the actual internet works from satellites in space and how it differs from like a normal ISP. My name's Tick Tactical. You can find me most days on Twitch. Also, hit that like and subscribe. I'm doing loads more of these videos, and I hope you find it useful. So let's get into the video. So let's get into unboxing. Like, what is in the box that you receive from SpaceX? Just like with Apple and other companies, it was really nicely packaged, something that you'd kind of expect with the price. It felt like opening a brand new iPhone on launch day. It was really nicely packaged up. The instructions were okay, I would say. There's probably not enough in there about, you know, how to install this properly, like how to mount it onto your property. But you get a Starlink dish, obviously. You get the tripod mount if you are, you know, using this in a remote location. You want to just pop it up quickly, you can use the tripod mount. It also comes with a power supply and then some cables. Now, the cables I will come back to, because these are one of my biggest bugaboos with this thing, is the amount and the type of cables that you get, and the connections are not the best. So the cable that you get out of the box, that is going straight to the Starlink dish and then going into the router at the bottom, using one of the weirdest connections I've ever seen in my entire adult life. So this is the router that you receive. You get 2 ports at the bottom. One is the power source for the actual router, and the other is the cable that goes from the satellite dish. So nice and easy, but you might have already clocked on, there's no Ethernet port on this thing at all. So if you're wanting to use power over Ethernet, or you're wanting to just hardwire directly into the router, you wouldn't be able to, unless you spend £35, Great British pounds, I don't know how much this is in America, on an adapter. So we're getting very into Apple territory here. You have to buy this adapter, which comes with it, and it has an Ethernet port and then goes into the Starlink router. Now, when I was talking about the cables and the annoyance of the shape of the actual port, look at this. It's the most janky cable, and obviously you've gone with you know, form over function here. You know, for myself, who is mounting this onto the roof of my house, and obviously drilling through the wall to be able to pull this through. For example, if this was in a normal shape, you'd just be able to drill a hole about that big, but because of the shape, it caused a few issues, which I'll go into in a bit. But yeah, overall, nicely packaged up, easy to set up. The app is brilliant, but yeah, there's just some weird nuances with the Starlink that threw me off, and that router for Wi-Fi purposes is awful. It's definitely one of the worst I've ever used. So if you are using this, you are going to use this for Wi-Fi, I would heavily recommend buying the adapter and getting a mesh network, or at least using power over Ethernet where you can, to try and boost that signal. You can also replace the routers as well with your own, which again I would highly recommend. They've got a bypass mode that lets you do that within the app, which is quite handy. But yeah, that's pretty much everything you get in the box. So fitting this wasn't actually as bad as I'd first anticipated. I used a aerial pole, I think it was about £25, and 2 wall mounted brackets to secure the pole onto the wall. I knew it needed to be higher than the TV antennae, and also I was quite fortunate that the Velux window is right next to the chimney breast in our house, so I didn't have to physically climb on the roof. I think I had some safety shoes on in this video, so don't worry about that. But yeah, so putting 2 brackets on the wall secured it, meant I could maneuver it a little bit. I chose to put the Starlink on last because it was really, really heavy, you know, and just trying to mount that and just trying to hold that out the window just seemed like quite a risk. So once I'd got that on, I'd already put 2 brackets at the top of the pole, which I would use to secure the Starlink in place. I'd already fed the wire through as well, just so I could get that nice and tight and make sure I had that connection first of all. So yeah, once I had that in the right position, obviously there is a tool on the app where you can check for obstructions. Obviously you're aiming for no obstructions, so I managed to get that completely fine, and then also just fed the wire down the side of the house and in through the room. Like I said, it was a bit awkward. Normally, obviously, with a normal wire, you can just feed it through using like a 25mm drill bit, drilling at an angle so water doesn't get in. I had to drill slightly bigger just to be able to feed that knuckle through. That's all I can really call it. But yeah, once it was through, obviously just went straight in and connected to the router. So it's quite useful, really. I'd say obviously there are mounts that they do online. They're a little bit more expensive. Well, they are a lot more expensive that Starlink do themselves. But I'm quite happy with my janky solution, which worked. So after 6 months of using this and having climbed on my roof and gone to all that effort to fit this magical device, has it been worth it? Probably not for myself. But if you are living in a rural area and this is your only option to get high-speed internet, then I would 100% recommend it for gaming, for streaming, for everything. If you're going to have some drawbacks, there is going to be drawbacks to using this over wired internet, straight from the cabinet. It's just always going to be an issue, purely down to like the latency and switching satellites every now and again. Trying to run, especially if you're on an FPS game and you're trying to stream at the same time on the same computer using the same internet connection, it's going to put strain on your network. The pros are high-speed internet in remote areas, easy installation. As you've seen, it's genuinely not that hard, and it's great for gaming. But the cons for me, it's not reliable for live streaming. The upload speed fluctuates quite a lot. There's a high upfront cost for this as opposed to other ISPs, obviously. Lack of Ethernet port with you need an additional purchase to be able to get something that you can do, that you can use for it. The cable that they provide is only a Cat5e, so it's not future proof, and it's not the best technology at this point. So for me, the biggest pro that I can have in an internet service provider is consistency. I'm not too bothered about being able to download something like that. I can take or leave that, but it's having the consistency. And I think just due to the nature of satellite communication, speeds and reliability can fluctuate more compared to like terrestrial internet. So these are like inconsistent streams. There's buffering. There's occasional dropouts. Streaming requires like quite a high and stable upload speed. And because they sort of fluctuate, it makes it quite hard to do a high bitrate stream, especially for like 1080p and above. I've given up on Starlink, so I've cancelled my service with Starlink now. I've gone back to my normal ISP, but it was a good test to see if it made a difference. It was definitely better for downloads, but from testing it going forward, it has been a lot more consistent. Even though I'm getting a lot lower download and upload, it's just consistently good. So that's why I've decided to get rid of Starlink, essentially. Obviously, it might be different for you. You might be in a different situation, but if I'm having to, constantly try and find ways to make this work for me, then it's probably not the right solution, and it's just not ready yet, in my opinion. If you liked the video and you found it useful, if you've got any questions to ask me, there's a link to my Discord down below, where you can ask me for any tips or advice on any of this sort of stuff. Just drop me a line. If you like the video, give it a like and a subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.